Namaste and welcome to yet another episode of the Influence Academy with myself Anusha, brought to you by Extra Tech, 3B's Education and Migration, and Bless Money. I and our entire Everest TV team would like to express our immense gratitude to all our viewers for their support and feedbacks. On tonight's episode, I'm accompanied by such a personality who is an exceptional and outstanding HR professional, having more than 2 decades experience leading HR teams and driving HR initiative with global leading brands such as Coles Myer, Travelex, Rabobank, Insurance Australia Group, and American Express. And not only that, he's been helping our community back home with his various philanthropic projects across Nepal. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Mr. Amit J Thapa.
Namaste. Thank you, Bunny.
Welcome to our show.
Pleasure to be here.
How are you?
Very well, thank you. I'm really excited to be here.
Thank you very much. You specialize in HR and you started your journey from a village in Nepal, and now you are one of the top successful HR professional in Sydney. So what motivated you to devote yourself in HR, and what were the motivating factors that you said that to be in a position that you are right now?
Truth must be told, Bunny, I think me being in a HR position was a complete accident. Okay. So I had even until I started my professional career, I actually didn't know what HR was. So it was just an accident. Looking back, how I've ended up here, I think there's a number of elements to it. I think one is, I think there's a bit of an element of destiny. One's destiny. If I think about you touched on, being born in a small village, a remote village in Nepal, as a child, I've often wondered, if I was not born in the house I was born in, if I was just born in the next door's house, would I be here today? I don't think I would be here today. Imagine if I was born a son of a Dalit, would I be here today? No, I wouldn't. So, that I think where I was born itself has had a role to where I'm today, one. Second one is, of course, I've had to work hard. So that's had a role to play. The third thing is I've always been curious. I've been interested in people, and I've learned early on the skill to connect the dots between people, business, and get great satisfaction seeing others succeed. And I think that's how this path has actually chosen me rather than me finding it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your extensive and invaluable experience as an HR manager is totally noteworthy, and I'm sure you have met with so many candidates applying for various types of jobs. So when an employee joins an organization, so what would be his or her expectations, and what can an organization do to meet his or her expectations, or an employee to meet organization's expectations?
Yeah, look, I think that's a really good question. What I've seen over the years, having interviewed many applicants, both from shop floor to senior executives with global roles and responsibility in banks and what have you, there are common traits you can start to see and unfold. And the common traits are every employer, be that the owner who owns a business or someone who leads a large team or a small team, what they're essentially looking for is 3 things. What they're looking for first and foremost is, they want to hire someone who has integrity. And within the terms of integrity, someone who's going to be loyal, someone that can be trusted, all those things will come under that bucket. That's the first thing. The second thing is, everyone wants to hire someone who's intelligent. They can, in this economy that we are part of, everyone's looking for individuals who can add and create value in their business. That's the second thing. The third thing is energy. Everyone's looking for people who's going to bring that energy to their team, to their company, whatever that is, right? From shop front to that. If I was to give one piece of advice to my fellow brothers and sisters, is that think about it. Are you presenting yourself from a position of integrity? Do you uphold? What are some of the values that you deeply hold? And you need to leave those values, and I think that's really important.
are those integrity and
intelligence, and energy. Yeah,
it's the short description of an ideal candidate from an HR perspective.
Exactly. Every single role.
Okay.
It does not really matter what role, because often, skills can be taught. Example, if you apply to work as a physiotherapist in an allied health practice, of course you need to have a physiotherapy qualification, right? That goes without saying it. But the decision-making factor will be like, okay, are you someone with integrity? Are you someone who's going to be trusted? Do you have integrity to look after the clients as much as the boss does? Do you care enough about the patient? Do you care enough about the business? All those things sort of is embedded in that word. It's a really powerful, all-encompassing word, but I think it's really critical. Second one is intelligent, because the world is changing so fast, right? Are you someone who's willing to go out of your way to, learn new things, bring that back to your workplace, contribute? And that's, again, like an intelligence. When I say intelligence, you don't need to be a genius. I'm just saying, are you self-aware? And the third one is energy. Again, like, do you get excited about coming to work? Do you bring that energy where people want to be around you? And I think at the end of the day, a workplace is the place where we all spend so much of our time. And I think that energy that you bring is going to be so critical. Yeah.
So it is obvious to have a cultural difference between any culture, and it's same with the organization. So could you share your experience on major cultural difference between organizations in Nepal and Australia, and what aspect should a Nepali focus more to be ready for Australian market?
Yeah, look, I think obviously culturally, in certain things we are very different, and in other sense we're very similar too, right? And I must be honest with you, I've never actually worked in Nepal, so I wouldn't be able to tell you from a place of knowledge and knowing what it would like to work in Nepal. But from having worked in international organizations, I think what's really important is, rather than trying to fit into someone else's culture, I think you need to be a lot more introspective, i.e. you need to be quite clear about who you are as a human being. What do you stand for? What are some of the things, are non-negotiable for you? If you're quite clear about that, you will find an organization that's going to be right for you. And if you look at a job, there'll be 100 jobs, and out of that, you only need one job. And similarly, you just need one organization that's going to be aligned with your value system. And I think that's really, really important.
What can a Nepali coming to Australia do to raise his or her level to compete in top levels in Australia?
Yeah, look, I think it's not impossible. It is a huge ask, but talking to younger generation that's coming through, people like yourself, it's really exciting. It gives me hope. I think the core thing, particularly from an international context and Australian context, you've got to just take a step back and look at some of the industry that is thriving here, right? From an Australian point of view, if you have good interpersonal skills, if you can communicate, if you're open-minded, and these sort of inherent qualities will set you up for any job you pick. Right, so it's limitless, because some of the roles that I'm familiar with, if I look into the future, they may not even exist. So I think that having that sense of, again, like a sense of curiosity, open-mindedness, and you're continually connecting with other people, and if you have that attitude, I think this country is full of opportunities for individuals like that.
Having said that, so do you see the importance of social networking in finding jobs?
Yeah, social networking is really, really important. I think it can be overplayed, particularly for the younger generation that's coming through. And I think from a social networking point of view, I think having a brand awareness and being aware of what is your brand that you're trying to portray. Just a simple example, do you have a LinkedIn profile? Ensure you've got a really appropriate, photo in there. It's a very simple one, but it's a really powerful one. Get a professional photo done. Have a really nice, clear brief about yourself. What are some of of your aspiration, and I think just getting that simple basic thing right and make it a work in progress document. So example, like, I've had LinkedIn for, 10 years or 10, 12 years since it's come about. I'm constantly looking at it like, every couple of months saying, okay, is this who I am? Because remember, I'm also evolving and the market is evolving. The industry is evolving, so I think it's really good to get into the habit of evolving yourself, even through social media as well, and that is probably really important for young folks coming over here.
So what are the mantras of having good social network?
Look, I think mantras of social network is, if you go back to the basic about, there's a clear saying, and which I agree with, you are a average of 5 of your closest friends that you hang around or spend most of the time, right? So if you go by that, and if you are unhappy or you want more out of your life than just that, then your starting point is, okay, how do you start to branch out of people that you really want to emulate, right? I'm not saying you need to necessarily copy someone else's life, because we all have our own life to lead, but I think it's really important to be, example, if someone wants to be a HR manager, they should connect with people like me. Don't ask me for a job, because it will happen if the job is there, but ask me how I got there and see how they can sort of connect those dots for themselves. And that's probably the most important thing.
So what about introverts? How do they start on with this social networking?
Yeah, look, and you're right. Like, there are two types of people. Clearly, you've got extroverts and introverts. But what that doesn't mean is you are incapable of connecting with others, right? It may not be a thing for you to go and stand up with people, and introverts and extroverts are generally like where you get your energy from. When you feel flat. Some people, like I'm not extreme extrovert. I'm also not an introvert, so I'm on the cusp of extrovert. So what that means is, like, if I'm a little bit down, sometimes I like to spend time with myself and be a lot more reflective. Other times I like to hang around with people I trust, test my ideas and get their feedback, and that's how I re-energize myself, right? So if you are someone who's on the introvert side and on the far left introvert side, it's a skill, and just be aware of the fact that, you're an introvert, so fast dating meeting sites are not going to be right for you, but there's no reason why you could not approach someone in your own way through a LinkedIn with a simple message saying, example, hi Amit, I'm really interested in HR, I'd love to know a little bit about the industry, can we have a one-on-one? It doesn't have to be in a public forum. It doesn't have to be in this forum, So I think there's always ways to overcome that, So don't be boxed and defined and make excuse for yourself saying, okay, I'm an introvert, I'm an extrovert. These are just how we are. That's our natural comfort zone, but that doesn't mean we cannot break through those own barriers or ceilings.
Those are really inspiring, Amit. And moving on, so we have seen tussle and disagreement between employee and employer. And it's just obvious that their perspective would be different. And you have been self-employed as well as worked as an employee. So why do you see the difference, and what can an employee and an employer, as an individual, do to create a environment of belief and trust for each other?
Look, I think it's a really interesting question, and it's a bit of a vexed question as well. For someone who spent about 20 years working, working on behalf of the employer, but also working with the employee, I actually don't agree totally with that statement. Contemporary today's modern Australian workplaces are very different to that. When I say that, of course, there's two sides. There's a pull and push factor between the employer and employee, but most great Australian businesses and employers, what they want is to work in partnership with the employee. They want to have the best interest, happy employees. What does that mean? What does a great Australian employer mean? It means they want to pay the employee well. They want to help them grow. They want to help understand what their aspirations are. They also understand employees are more than just employees. They've got family responsibilities. They're part of their community, and so I think we've actually progressed well past the tussle between an employee and employer to more of a mutual benefit mindset. So today's demand of times today, and also what great employers of the day are thinking about is, how do we actually also not just contribute to ourselves, to the employee and the employer, to the immediate community, but the world at large. Right? So there's so much about, social responsibility. It's not just a thing you do once a year and feel good about it. No, the product that you build, is that responsible product? Your consumptions habit, is that responsible? So this sort of awareness is really taking hold. So I think in this day and age, any young, smart Australian employee is not going to want to work for an employer that doesn't stand and uphold to some of those core values that's broader than just business. And that is quite true. So as you mentioned, I've worked with global brands and organizations like American Express and Rabobank, and these are very, very, very successful businesses, and you can see how they've evolved. And now, you look at advertisement of American Express, they're all about making impossible the possible. What does that connect to? It's actually that aspirational part of humanity, right? So on the other hand, if you look at Rabobank, they want to together grow a better world. They're not talking about money. Of course, a good business needs to have all of those things, but there's a clear vision and purpose, and I think today's business are about that. So I think it's really important when a young Nepali graduate, you're coming through, have a look at their vision, mission. Does that align with you? And also get into the habit of having your own personal vision. Overcome the fears and barriers that you have. If you have that, I can assure you, miracles will happen. You are going to find that organization, they're going to love you. And that's what happened to me. So there was no, I didn't have a calculated plan to be where I am today.
In this global change, what do you see the major event or change that will change the perspective, HR perspective in next 5 years?
Yeah, look, I think it's really, again, another amazing question. Just 2020, what COVID's done, and this is going to have a pretty serious ramification from a global mobility point of view, and also whether jobs are going to be created, how we're going to do. So, if I think about this year, I think there is a general acceptance that work can be done. It's not about where you are. Zooming is quite a common thing now. So this is naturally going to have accelerated impact on how we do work, and what is our place of work going to be. So that's one, but it's also going to pose some interesting challenges for a young any HR person should be thinking about. Is how do you sort of still keep the culture going? At the end of the day, we human beings, we are social creatures. We like to go and mingle and establish relationship, friendships, colleagues, business with each other, and that cannot be underestimated, the impact that's going to have. So I think this is going to have a major role in terms of how our new future workplaces are going to be set, and what some of the opportunities are going to come from.
Australia has launched a global talent independent program, which is exciting opportunity for highly skilled individuals across the globe. And it is fast track to permanent residency pathway as well. So in your view, what do you think, what are the talents that are looking for, and how could it benefit Nepalese community?
Yeah, look, I think Nepalese, I'm sure that it's already starting to benefit lots of Nepalese community. Not necessarily Nepalese community in the sense, true Nepalese community, because if Australia is able to attract all our very best people, it's going to have a counter impact, unfortunately. But from Australian context, whilst I'm not an immigration agent per se, from a macro strategic point of view, you can see Australia is really interested in having strong capabilities in the digital world, the innovation sector, the data sector, the healthcare sector, because we've got an aging workforce coming through, and also, if you think about the ground bedrock of Australia and what the future of Australia holds, we need to be a knowledge economy, knowledge nation, and for that we need to invite and attract smart people. Smart people, they're going to come here, make Australia their home, but also innovators, entrepreneurs. So that's what Australian government is really interested in, and I think they're onto something good. So
there are currently about 51,000 Nepalese students here in Australia who are starting in various fields. So what is your suggestion to those students who wants to kickstart their career who are aiming high and who wants to be successful?
Yeah, look, I think there's a couple of things. I mean, I've already shared what ideal employers, candidates looking for. A couple of things, my own personal observation, and I have been there myself whilst it was 20 years ago, and I've come through that as a student, right? Something our young folks need to be really cognizant about is when they leave home in Nepal, there's so much of excitement, hope, dream. When they come over here, all of a sudden the fear tends to and self-limiting beliefs tend to set them. And part of that is because their circle of influence is very much the number of people they're in contact with. And I think if one message I can give them is, hey, keep the hope and dream alive, write it somewhere, and make it real. Okay. So I think that's the first thing, because they need to break through that fear, because most of the young kids I talk about, they say, oh, it can't be done. It's like, well, it's happened to me, and I've met countless people from all over the world come to Australia with a similar dream, and they've realized it's going to happen to that 50,000 Nepalese kids as well, right? So that's one. The second one is, invest in yourself. Invest in yourself for the first few years. I know there are social, economic pressure, but for a greater good, focus on yourself for the first few years to ensure you've got great skills, improve your communication skills, improve your network, improve your interpersonal skills, all those skills that's really required in an Australian workplace, right? Break through your silos. If you just want to be part of just a Nepalese community, then go back to Nepal. If you want to be part of here, make friends. And I know the education industry is an interesting one, and I've got my own views, but I'm not going to share too much of that. But what I would say is think about going and studying where you can mingle with Australians. At the end of the day, workplaces are going to be full of them, so you need to find ways to be able to relate to them. And I think that's a message I really want young kids to do, because go to TAFEs, go to universities, and have some fun, and be passionate about whatever you do. Go back to the same virtue I sort of shared. Have integrity. Be socially conscious. Have clear purpose and values that you stand for. And it doesn't really matter what job you do, by the way. You can be a cleaner, but do it with integrity. You can be a chef, do it with integrity. And one of the reasons why I think, so many of young Nepali people like us have come to Australia is the Australians really value the value system that we uphold to. And I think our Nepalese people, younger ones, just needs to be reminded, hey, it's a precious commodity we have. Make sure we really own that space. Yeah.
Having said that, if someone is wanting to work as a human resource field, so what are the characteristics and steps they need to take order to make them successful in this business? Yeah,
look, I think usual step, people would say, I'll go and do a HR degree and all of that, but I actually don't believe that at all. I think to be a great HR leader of the future, couple of things, it's really a must. One is, you got to have a real strong business acumen. Okay, because contemporary HR is all about understanding business and solving business problems. Second one, of course, you need to have passion for people. You need to be able to be comfortable being on the shadow and let someone else thrive, right? And that there's the element of sacrifice in there. That's the second one. Third one is you need to have courage, because being a HR person, often you need to be able to hold the mirror to very, very senior people in decision-making places. And if you're not comfortable about yourself, if you don't have the innate courage to uphold to that, it's going to be very, very difficult. And I actually just jotted that question. One more point. Yeah, you need to also have a great deal of empathy, because at the end of the day, you're trying to find solution whenever you see that tussle you talked about between employer and employee. A contemporary HR leader's role is to find a deep understanding of the individual, and through that bring about change, and enjoy seeing others succeed. Celebrate, if you have those qualities, and if you can embed that in whatever role you do. It doesn't really matter, right? You will end up in a HR role. HR, in the modern HR world, I think if you're going after a title, that's not real HR, But other things you could think about it is, if you're really want to find your first step, get into a recruitment resource role, be very, very good at, social recruiting now, understanding how LinkedIn works. There's so many ways, but again, at the core of it is, do you genuinely understand what it takes to make a business successful? And, do you genuinely care to understand what are the aspirations of an individual? Essentially, HR role is to connect those two, right? So you've got to have one foot on one side and the other. And the third one is, because of your innate interest and knowledge, you'll be able to influence both sides. And that's what your role is, really. Yeah. So I would really discourage individuals to go after a fancy title, this, that, and the other title, so you can have whatever. But at the core of it, what is a role is just that.
Moving on. Yeah. So let's talk about your philanthropic work.
Right.
And you are founder and chairman at Friends of Nepal Association, FONA. And FONA is a non-profit organization who is helping to drive change, a social economic perspective in Nepal with its various projects. And so what motivated you to pursue this dream? And would you like to share the details, plans that you're trying to execute?
Yeah, look, I don't even look at it as a philanthropic work for me. It was just at the very basic level, a couple of things. One, I had been in Australia for over 20 years. As you know, I've come from a very small village. I grew up there. I saw my first car when I was 9 years old. Coming from that background, being in this privileged position now, I've had an amazing career around the world. Went to the best university in Australia with Sydney Uni, all of those things. And I think I'm married to Australian. So I've got a wife who's also very passionate about making a difference in the world, and this all came about because we did want to find a way for both her and I to play a small role in our village. So that's how this came about. And also looking at the future, we've got so many young Nepali kids coming through here. We've got young kids coming through, and how do we find a way to also for them to self-express them? They're not going to be Nepali. Like, I've got a son, 3-year-old. He's going to be, as much as I would call him a Nepali, he's going to be Australian, right? He's going to be a friend of Nepal. So that was, okay, how does he have that link to go back to Nepal? So that was the thinking behind it. The other aspect of it was, Nepal is as good as the thinking, and we take it over there, right? For me, what I'm not interested in is have one for my kid. One sort of if you like, standard for myself, but one standard for something else in the village. That's inherently not me. So I wanted to find something that, okay, if that's how I want to be, then I may as well do something to prove that, right? So that's how that came about, at least on the philosophical side. But in terms of the actual work and launch of FONA, this came from the earthquake. Where we are, the part of Nepal we come from, we were devastated. The school, my primary school, was destroyed. Everyone's houses were destroyed. My house was destroyed. Then when I went back to Nepal, I was like, what do? I asked my community, and they said, look, I think you need to, if you can, get involved in education. It's the ultimate privilege anyone can have. They've given me the privilege to build a school. So the current work we have been doing, again, my view was, okay, how do I take the best of Australia into Nepal, right? Because, I've got a son. One day I see him going to that school as well. I wanted to build a school like that. So it's been an amazing journey. So we've been working with University of Melbourne. So we've got a scholar doing a PhD in our school. So we're also looking from a social context. What does the future of education look like, right? So the question I have in my mind is, if we really want to leapfrog the future of Nepal, if we continue to do exactly what we've been doing, we're not going to get that. Right? So almost thinking about, okay, what is the future, 50 years time? What are some of the jobs of Nepal, or the, aspiration of the youth of Nepal is going to be, and how do we sort of take a step back and create education that's going to meet those requirements? right? And so that was the thinking around. So it's been a 5-year process. It's been a lot of hard work, simply, you know, trying to manage a project overseas from here, but it's been so much fun, you know, rewarding in the sense, like, you know, it's got me back to Nepal many times because of this work. Yeah, so this is why it's come about. So we are on the final stage of completing our 5-year work. In the next probably about 2 to 3 months, we'll have a school, so which is basically a applied agri-technology high school. These are words very selectively used because it's in a rural community in the hills of Nepal. So I wanted a school and that could help immediately to the farmers, and that's what the community is about. Second one, embed technology. Because you know, I've got a vision that the kids that go to our school will participate in a global employment opportunity, living right in their home in our village. So that's my vision. And I think looking at how fast the world is transforming, and this year's COVID, like, you know, what's happening with the internet, acceptance of the fact that you can be anywhere and do the job, you know, outsourcing work to Nepal, all these things are telling me actually my dream is going to be a reality a lot faster than what I even thought that was going to happen. So it's really exciting.
Thank you for sharing your extensive plans with us and our viewers. Last but not the least, you are the Chief Talent Officer at a global talent agency which connects great Australian businesses to highly skilled talents from across the world. And so how do you help your clients? And there are so many recruitment agencies. So what sets Global Talent Agency apart from all those competitors?
Yep. So we are a very, firstly, let me tell you what Global Talent Agency is. So we are a boutique international talent agency or international recruitment agency, very much a purpose-led organization. As you sort of mentioned, like, you know, we truly exist to connect highly skilled global talent with great Australian employers. And if you ask me, like, you know, where did this business come about? Couple of clear purposes were couple of purposes became really clear for me. What is that contribution? Did I want to give back to the community, the Australian community, where I had benefited so much? And also being a migrant, you know, what role can I play a positive role to the migrant community? So those are the two questions I was also thinking about. And the third one is, okay, what is my innate skill, you know, that I've gained all these years in my professional career? How do I sort of bring that together? So those three things, you know, thinking about it, has become the Global Talent Agency. So which essentially is, you know, I see a future Australia that is dynamic, it's diverse, it's inclusive. And when I take a step back, how can I play a role to that? You know, and I actually, it became quite clear to me that I had a huge role to play and I could make a huge difference to that vision. And you may say, how do you do that? It's very simply, so in my role as a Chief Talent Officer for the Global Talent Agency, you know, I'm having constant conversation with small to large organization, small, growing, medium organization in Australia, who probably never even employed any foreign workers in the past. So part of this purpose is, like, you know, to actually help them understand, you know, the opportunity that presents for them in their business. If they were to explore the idea of, like, employing someone from overseas was one. Second one is from a candidate side, you know, having been a migrant myself, I know, you know, the fear one has, the challenges one has in terms of adjusting and finding a great employer that's going to understand and be good to them. So I think helping them come to that journey is just, like, you know, it's a privilege to be able to do what I do day in, day out, helping future Australians, but also Australian businesses, you know, get better, stronger, realize their dreams because they can find great people to work with, right? So yeah, it's a real, you know, real. And what makes us unique, you're absolutely right, because I don't think there's many businesses that operate exactly like the way we do. Obviously, we also have a successful immigration firm that's led by Sarah Thapa, my wife, and very much again, like, talking to businesses, so having that deep inside respect connection with the immigration department. So with that, coupled with my 20 years of corporate HR talent experience, and also network globally. So we have partnerships in 12 different strategic locations where there are deep talent pools that we can tap into and bring them to Australia. So I think, and my passion, for me, this is not just about a business for the sake of doing business. This is about who I am, what I want to be known for. I want people to know that I've made a difference to many lives. And that's what global talent, I think, is why a lot of clients want to do business with us, but also candidates, so we sort of really nicely facilitate that bridge.
We're coming to the end of our episode. And would you like to say some few words to our viewers that are watching currently? Yeah, look,
I think I really want to say thank you. Firstly, thank you to you for, providing me this opportunity. Second one is, I just want to say to the viewers, look, if you have a dream, your dreams are realistic, right? Just follow them. And obviously through this, today's conversation, if anyone out there feels like you like to have a chat with me one-on-one, I'd be very happy to come and talk to you and share my own insights and help you. If there's any way I can be of help to anyone, drop me a note. I don't know, maybe you can provide them how they can get in touch with me. I'd be very happy to help them, or even organize a forum for if there's a group of people to come and, if I can give tips and tricks, and if I can make one difference to one's career, I'd be very happy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amit, for sharing invaluable time with us, and we wish you all the very best.
Thank you so much, and best wishes to you guys as well. And this is an incredible program to provide platform like individuals like us, to come and share our stories. So thank you.
Thank you so much. On that note, I'd like to end tonight's episode. We'll be back next week. Please stay updated in our social media channels. Take care, stay safe, and thank you for watching Everest TV. Thank you.